Age of consent laws were created to prevent adult sexual predators from taking advantage of children. However, these laws are frequently used to prosecute teenagers in relationships with people where the age difference is only a couple of years. In the meantime, the people who actually should be in prison are often not charged at all. Today, we discuss the current age of consent laws, our own experiences as young men, and whether or not changes should be made. Joining me on this episode are DJ from What's Good Family Podcast and Zen from Culture Shock. So if you like what we're doing here, definitely check them out and subscribe as well. Now let's get started.
Hi, I'm Hollywood Hippie, and you're listening to Touch Grass. And wash your beep.
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm Mike, and I'm here with...
My name's DJ, host and creator of the What's Good Family Podcast.
This is Zen, creator of the Culture Shock Podcast, life coach, motivational speaker. Gonna be out there, man. We all gonna be out there, B.
Oh yeah, man. I've seen the Culture Shock. I haven't seen What's Good yet, but I'm gonna check that out here tonight for sure.
Okay, cool.
Okay, appreciate
Well,
it.
hey,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. Well, let's get into it. So I've been involved in some conversations, and people have been talking about age of consent, and it had me thinking about some things and what it meant to me back when I was a young teenager. And I feel like some changes need to be made to this whole idea of the age of consent. I live in Texas, and the way the law is set up now, the age of consent is 17. Basically, anyone under 17 cannot consent to sexual activity. And the spirit of it, I think, is to prevent adults from messing around with kids. But I kind of feel like what actually ends up happening is that you have teenagers paranoid that they're going to go to prison because someone might be 1 or 2 years younger than they are. And that's kind of what I'm looking at with it. I mean, I don't know where you guys are from or what those laws are like around there, but
For me, I'm from Texas as well. It's funny you're saying that because me and my kids just had this conversation like not too long ago. And we were talking about the age of consent. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they have what is called the Romeo and Juliet law. And basically, if let's say you and a person are dating and you or that person turns 18 before the other one. I believe the law allows for like a 1 to 2 year age gap. Again, don't quote me on it. I'm speaking from what I think, not quoting it as facts. But I do know there is a Romeo and Juliet law that will protect a relationship that was already ongoing before said person turned 18. Now, as far as a 17-year-old, as far as a grown man trying to talk to a kid, like nah. That needs to stay where it's at. Matter of fact, I think we should raise the age of consent up to 21 because, I mean, what do you really know at 18?
So you're saying
That's
they're
true.
trying to block, like adults from getting like intercourse with children, like as in teenagers or whatever. That's why they have like the age of consent at that point.
oh yeah. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be for. It's supposed to keep these predators from messing with young girls. But like was said here, a lot of the times what it really does, it affects like kids that are about the same age, and they're more at risk of going to jail than a lot of obviously we have Epstein, a lot of these grown men getting away with stuff that dudes are straight going to prison for on their 18th birthday.
I think, again, I would say I think it's more so I would say if anybody's watching this and they fall into this category, I wouldn't so much be worried about it on the aspect of, again, there is a law that is protecting them. Now, the issue comes in where let me put it to you let me word it like this. The Romeo and Juliet law wouldn't protect, let's say a 21-year-older wants to talk to a 16-year-older or a 15-year-older. That Romeo and Juliet law wouldn't protect them from that because, again, the relationship was not ongoing. When we're talking about men and women committing, preying on children, it's crazy because how do I word this correctly? They get kids when they're vulnerable. Like a lot of people call it, I guess the proper term for it is grooming. Get them while they're young and train them the way you want them to go and all that other stuff. Again, I say you got to leave well enough alone.
Yeah, definitely. The problem with I'm sorry.
Yeah. So with that said, do you think
The
it would be the
prob
same penalty when it comes to? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Do you think it would be the same penalty when it comes to like children dealing with women? Like I know with me, I've actually lost my virginity to my teacher, like at age 17, basically. So like I was wondering what kind of
Mm.
penalty will women get if like they were in the same situation as the man trying to groom like little girls, basically.
I mean, in my opinion, it should be the same for everybody, but we all know that there's different laws for different people, and that an older woman is almost never going to get in trouble the same way an older man's going to get in trouble.
If I may, I'll say this. It's not so much that a woman won't get in trouble like a man would get in trouble. It's more so on the fact of it's for a dude, for a young man, it's a bragging point. You know,
Right.
you got that hot teacher, she's giving you the time of day, she let you in the guts, and hey, you're not, again, you're not thinking, as a young guy, you're not thinking, oh well, she just raped me or she took advantage of me. You're thinking, well, I got what everybody wanted. It's bragging points. I mean, there's been cases, at least in Corpus Christi. I know of a case in Corpus Christi, and I've read of other cases of teachers who had intercourse with their students, and it led to them getting fired and charges being pressed against them, and they were pursued to the fullest extent of the law. So I don't think it's so much that the law is different for them. I think it's more so on the aspect of the male and female mindset is different. For a dude, even though it is being taken advantage of, 9 times out of 10, he's gonna brag to his friends. For a lady,
Right.
it's gonna be different, in my opinion.
Right. So I do have
I
a
can see
question
that
because
for
I'm sorry. Like
go ahead.
I think it's a lag. I think it's a lag. My bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, like I'm kind of ignorant of the law, basically. So like, I just got a quick story. Like, this is lady that I've known, like, good friend of mine in high school. She was 16, but she was bragging about dating a 32-year-old man and all that. And like, she was happy that she was in love, like, she was in love with this man, but he got caught and like charges were against him and all that. But nothing happened to the girl that was actually pursuing the man. So do you think there should be a penalty on the child that's actually trying to pursue the older man?
Me personally, no, because if you're an adult, that's on you. I mean, if you're letting a 16-year-old talk you into doing something that you know is wrong, I mean, that's kind of on you. I mean, that's kind of why when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about like an 18-year-old boy, someone who's really, I mean, legally they're an adult, but not really. I mean, I think some more leeway should go there, but like if you're talking about a 30-year-old man, I mean, hey, I don't know what to tell you. You probably need to go to jail.
Yo, if a
Right.
16-year-old that can talk a 32-year-old man out of his drawers, yo, she got game, bro. That's a mouthpiece.
Sure,
I need to be
absolutely.
studying under.
But you're saying there should be no penalty. I'm not saying that the person should go to prison or whatever. Like, but you're saying that there shouldn't be no kind of correctional situation going on with that child at all? Because now the child is being labeled a victim even though they wanted it.
I mean, that again, you're falling in. It's a gray area because they're not an adult. You're basically I don't know the law, so I'm just kind of using my own logic here. Because they're not an adult, a judge will have to tell the parents, hey, basically how to parent their child. At the end of the day, if you're the adult in the situation, you can technically, you control the situation. A person can only get away with well, as far as an adult and a child can only get away with what an adult allows. So in that instance, you can't hold the child liable, because again, the court's gonna chalk it up to a child being a child, especially in that type of situation. Yeah, they may recommend some counseling, but if you're looking at, I mean, as far as like legal ramifications, there's not gonna be none. They won't hold the child accountable, not to the same standard.
Yeah,
Well,
man, all on the adult, because I'm 48 years old. There ain't no 16-year-old on earth that's got the game that's gonna get me in their bed.
I feel that. I definitely feel
You
that.
know,
Like, we're saying the age of consent is 17, and I don't know, you're in Texas? Are you guys in Texas?
yeah,
Okay, so yeah, I'm saying the age of consent is 17, but if you have sex at 16 and everything, and like it's illegal to have sex at age 16 and all that, right? So why can't somebody be penalized
mhm.
if they're trying to have sex with somebody like at that age, basically. Because like if a child steals from Walmart and they get caught, they get penalized. If a child gets into a fight at 16, they get penalized. So if this is a law, the person that like the child or whatever that's at age 16, knowing that it's illegal, should actually get penalized for it. No matter if the guy should definitely go to prison, or the female should definitely go to prison. But the child should get penalized in a certain way because it's a law now. And they actually broke that law, just like stealing, just like fighting, just like loitering or whatever.
Now, I get what you're saying. That, like, again, I'm gonna use my own logic from stuff that I looked up. In that situation, it's attacked from different angles. So, like, we'll use this analogy again. Under the Romeo and Juliet law, if you were both 16 and one of y'all turned 17, y'all can still date. Now, y'all can date and do whatever dating things do. Now, as far as consenting to sexual activity, it's kind of like one of those, look, as long as we're not exploiting as long as it's not sexual exploitation, such as like pictures or videos are being sent out and everything else like that. At that moment, pictures and videos start making their way around, then regardless of the age of consent, both people can get hit with, if I'm not mistaken, both people can get hit with distributing of child stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I feel that.
Yeah. And the way I look at it is the person, like if we're talking about over and under 17, the person under 17 legally cannot give consent, even if they agree. It's legally, they're incapable of giving consent. So if the other person is over 18, then that's going to be legally considered sexual assault, even if the other person agrees. Now, I think it gets a little bit gray when they're both the same age, because technically neither one is giving consent. So who's guilty?
And again, it doesn't become an issue. It doesn't become an issue until one of a couple of factors happen. From what I understand, one, there's distributing of pictures and videos, and then two, if one parent, like let's say, I'm gonna use a hypothetical. Let's say the parents, y'all are in the middle of getting it on, and one of the parents walks in and has the issue with it. Then it can therefore escalate from that. But as far as it being one of those situations where just because you're doing it, nah, I mean, like as long as you're not doing it in public, if you're doing it behind closed doors, I mean, I've never seen a case where the law gets involved where both kids, granted they're underage, but they're consenting to sexual activities, get in trouble.
Well, there are a few instances where that happened. And one thing I want to add is on that Romeo and Juliet. Gosh, I already forgot the word I'm looking for. But with the Romeo and Juliet exception, it's 3 years difference.
Okay.
But the problem with it is that it can only be invoked in court. Like, it's not a defense. Like, if you're both 15, legally, you can still be arrested, you can still be prosecuted and charged, and you can only bring it up once you're in court. And at that point, it's up to the judge and the jury. And if you got the wrong jury, it can still lead to a conviction. I haven't seen any documented cases where that happened. It's disturbing that it can happen. And I know of one case, but it was hearsay, so I can't really say it, where, the dude was 17, his girlfriend was 16, and on his 18th birthday, the police picked him up.
Oh, that's crazy.
So I feel like there are cases out there where that's happened, and I feel like that's the thing that needs to be changed, especially when the whole purpose of this thing is, because what we want to do is stop adults from messing with kids. Teenagers shouldn't have to be worried about this, especially going to clubs where girls come in with fake IDs, this, that, and the other, and some girls develop faster than others, and you don't know exactly how old somebody is. I mean, yeah, that's like a minefield for a 18, 19-year-old boy, but a 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old man, they should know better.
So, I'm sorry, but my bad.
No, you got it, Zen.
I just have a quick question though. Like, it might be a dumb question for you guys, but hear me out. What made the laws change? Because I know, like, my grandmother, she was married at age 16 by a 30-year-old man, like way back in the day. So what made everything change to make it like a law or make it illegal for people to like start getting married or having sex at that age when our grandparents, during biblical times, we were getting married at age 13 and 14 years old. So it made everything change.
Well, I think there are a couple of things personally. I mean, I guess I'll address the elephant in the room and say that usually when these laws are enforced, it's because the daddy of the girl don't like the color of the boy. I mean, that there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that documented, and a lot of times that's when it's enforced. Also, class. If rich family, don't like that their daughter's dating a guy from a poor area, they've prosecuted that. There are a lot of examples of that. What you don't see though is like if your 13-year-old daughter's dating a rich dude that's old, that almost never you almost never see that. But
I would no, you got it.
but yeah, that's a big thing. And I think another thing is just a little bit of feminism. I mean, I think that women are the ones that are taken advantage of at a younger age by these older men. And I think a lot of it is just to protect young girls from getting into situations where they're 13 and 14 and getting pregnant and, they haven't even experienced life yet and pregnant by someone who doesn't even care about them. And I think a lot of that is just really protecting young girls, which is what it should be about.
I would say I don't know when the laws actually changed, but I would surmise that it changed around the time as I want to say basically the public perception. So granted, the life expectancy, when we're talking about our grandparents' time, the life expectancy wasn't long back then. So for the practice was get married young, have kids, and then pass away when you're in your 50s, 60s or anything like that, if I'm not mistaken. Again, don't ever quote what I'm saying is fact. Please do your own research. But from my understanding, the life expectancy wasn't high back then. Now, as time progressed and more of the underage marriages were happening, I think it just became a society that didn't like it. It became a thing where, hey, we need to stop this because, some of these kids haven't even hit puberty and they're already having intercourse and stuff like that. So I would say that society would be the primary cause of the rule change. When it happened, I don't know. As far as why the rule changed, I mean, yes, to come off of Mike's point, I would agree that females were the predominant gender being taken advantage of, but that's not to discredit that males were taken advantage of too, you know what I'm saying? Be it male on male or male on female, it just became one of those things where society said, hey, this is wrong. There you go.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that, especially the male on male with the panic back in the 50s and 60s when homosexuality was like basically in line with the pedophilia and child predators. There are still, like, you can look up old PSAs out there that were basically saying if someone's gay, they're going after little kids, which I guess we know now that's not really true, but that was a pretty widespread belief for a while.
I tell you this, I was in love with my teacher. As soon as I lost my virginity, it was on like I was just crazy in love with this lady B. So say there's a scenario where she get caught like having intercourse with me. And she got to go to jail, court, and all that. But what if I defend her case? Is there any way I can like defend her to a point where she they will push back on that like case, basically? Like if a child actually do go through it and they defend her, that do you think it'll be okay if like somebody will actually push back on it? Like is there a law where you can push back on that case or whatever if the child is actually defending the defendant?
Mike, I'll let you take that one.
I don't think so, because they're not going to consider the child's testimony at all because they're a child, and they're going to assume that the child was manipulated and brainwashed, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, the entire responsibility is going to fall on the adult regardless.
So I'm the victim.
I think that a child
given the opportunity. I'm the victim even the opportunity. That sounds crazy.
You're the victim because she entertained it. Now I'm gonna give you a different. I'm gonna piggyback off of your scenario, and I'm gonna kind of shed a different light on it. So if I'm not mistaken, when you talked about your teacher, you said you were 18. So
17.
Oh, you were 17. Okay, 17. So in Texas, yes, she would be, if it got found out, she would be looked at as a predator. She preyed on a young child. Now, some people will argue you're 17, that's the age of consent, and try to find a loophole through that way. And it will be looked at in this way. Well, because she was in a position of power in your life, so she was your teacher, she preyed upon you. Regardless of how in love you may say you are or were or is or any, they'll look at it as, well, no, she's in a position of power. She took advantage of her position, of her authority and her position in your life, and manipulated you to feel and believe and think that you're really in love when really she just wanted to do what she wanted to do.
So here's why I do have a problem
Yeah,
with this.
and that's
But here's why I do have a problem with this. Like, say if you have a child and everything, like your child's getting bullied or whatever, it's like pushing your child around and all that, and then as soon as your child defends itself and beat up the child, that child get penalized. Like, your child get penalized for beating up that child, basically. So now the child that been bullying is gonna look like the victim to a point where he's gonna feel like he's gonna have the upper hand. So now, like, me trying to, like, okay, so me pretty much initiating the situation or whatever, and then being called a victim at the end, I have every right to brag now because I'm free. But because there's no penalty or whatever, like that gives them the leeway to do it again and again and again because they know that there's no penalty afterwards. So I personally think we do have to penalize the child, not as much as the adult, but we need to penalize the child in some sort of way because now it's giving them the freedom to do whatever they want and still be called a victim.
I mean, and that's why I said some cases there'll be mandatory counseling. Like, your kid got to go to counseling. Basically it'll be like a victim's counseling, but they would need to go to counseling because what you're saying is not uncommon. There are young women out there and young males out there who prefer older people. They're attracted to older people and they like what they like and they're going to go pursue what they like. Again, it's up to the adult in question to chalk that up to adolescence, a kid that don't know what you're talking about, and then move on about their way.
I see it like, if you're an adult and a 12-year-old punches you, you don't respond by knocking the kid out. You still got to be the bigger person.
I personally think if a child want to act like an adult and punch me in my face, I'm going to punch them back in the face. That's how it should be, actually. That's the only way they're going to learn. To be real, I might not be politically correct, but I know if a child want to act like an adult and punch me in my face, I ain't fighting back. And because they no telling if that child got a gun, they no telling if that child got like anything else. I'm going to defend myself as much as possible. That's how it should be, actually. If you know that you're doing something wrong, you should get penalized in a certain way.
I mean, the law covers that to a certain degree. I mean, you can defend yourself. Now, does the law allow you to fully beat the hell out of the child and like critically injure the child? No. But, hey, the kid hit me and I punched him back,
Yeah. I could totally see that. Equal self-defense.
Okay.
But on this age of consent, this is my thoughts on it, because I do think that it should be changed, because it even changes from state to state, which is crazy, because you can be perfectly legal in one place and you go somewhere else and all of a sudden you're on a sex offenders list. The way I see it, and a lot of states have actually lowered their age of consent to 16, which I don't know if I'm on board with that. For me, I think it needs to go up to 18. But I also think we need 2 ages of consent. I think at age 14, there's one age of consent, and then at age 18, you have age of consent with an adult. Because at 14, that's just to protect young teenagers, who are hooking up. Because right now, if you're 15 years old, legally, you can't consent at all. So what is rape when you're 15 years old? If everything is rape, If you agree to it, I think legally that should count for something. Like, you are consenting, like 2 15-year-olds are agreeing to it, that should count. And that's why I'm saying 14. I think under 14, no, period. Like, I don't care. But between 14 and 18, I think we need that leeway. And then after 18, we can still have the Romeo and Juliet, where if you're 18 and you're dating a 15-year-old, which, by the way, that should be something that only comes up in court. That should be something that's right there on the spot, 18 and 16, that's legal. We're not even going to mess with that. It shouldn't be something where I'm going to arrest you anyway. And then if you bring it up on trial, then we'll see what happens. But that's where I see it, because at the end of the day, the whole point of all of this, and what I think everyone agrees on, what everyone wants to do, is protect younger kids from being taken advantage of. And right now, I feel like the way the laws are set up, it kind of penalizes younger kids, for being slightly older than the person they're dating. It's putting a lot of pressure on them or whatnot. And quite frankly, we're watching in real time older people getting away with stuff that's even worse than what we're talking about. They're straight up raping young girls and not even being prosecuted. And I just feel like that's where the focus should be. But yeah, that's where I'm at on that. Oh no, man. You have anything else on that one?
I have nothing else to say on that one. Raise the age of consent to 21 across the board.
Yeah, 21 is probably
Yeah.
good too. Well,
My
I don't
question
know.
is, like, what do you think is going to be the rate for the kids actually having sex if they do raise the consent? Is it going to be the same? Is it going to be more? Or is it going to be less?
I mean, it's gonna be. I'm gonna say it like this. This is my thought process on it. It'll stay the same or go up. And the reason I say that, because when you throw yourself, I got kids, so when I tell my kids not to do something, they're gonna go do it anyways. Like people work that way. It's like, if you don't want them to do, like, let's say you want somebody to do something, tell them not to do it, because people are gonna go and do exactly what you tell them not to do. But I mean, as somebody who lost their virginity at a young age, at a young age, kids are sexually, they're exploring themselves. I stand on a Christian principle, like, hey, I understand sin is sin, but there's the worldly side where, like, hey, I got this itch, I need to scratch it, and I found somebody who's consenting with me to help me scratch this itch. I mean, people explore themselves at young ages, so that's gonna happen. There's no way around it. All most we can do is gear our kids up and teach them the correct way on how to go about handling business. You know what I'm saying? Pray that they don't. Basically, you want to my opinion is, take the mindset of, I'm gonna give you this knowledge with the hopes that you never need it, than you not having the knowledge, and then we're in a whole nother situation because you weren't prepared for what you did. You get what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Yeah. I absolutely think that, as parents, you're not going to win the battle against puberty and hormones. Okay. Your kids are going to get it in, most likely. And you're not even going to know until they're 30 and they're laughing about how they used to sneak out back in the day. That's just the way it is as a parent. But what we can do, or what we need to do, and what we need to do as far as law goes, is make sure that our kids are not being taken advantage of by adults. Like grown men, people in positions of power, that sort of thing. That's the thing that we need to be stopping. We shouldn't be going after teenagers being teenagers. And that's really everything that I'm talking about right now.
Hey guys, that's it for this edition of Touch Grass. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, but don't just sit and watch internet videos all day. You need to go outside and conquer life, because you matter and you need to make every day matter. Now get off the internet and go touch grass.
Until we meet again!